They are in response to President Trump's vow to crack down on crime and illegal immigration in that city. So who's in favor of crime? Well, there you go. He's also named Baltimore and New Orleans as deep blue cities that need the same treatment that is working in Washington, D.C. The president addressed the crime during his speech earlier this hour from the Religious Liberty event.
We'd love to go into Chicago and straighten it out. You know, Washington, D.C., you'll be happy to know, is a free and safe zone. It's so safe right now. I don't know why Chicago isn't calling us saying, please give us help. When you have, over just a short period of time, 50 murders and hundreds of people shot, and then you have a governor that stands up and says how crime is just fine. It's really crazy. But we're bringing back law and order to our country.
Well, yet another bloody weekend to add to what's happening in Chicago. 18 shootings left at least 6 people dead, 12 wounded. And President Trump turned up the heat, as I mentioned, Saturday with an AI-generated post playing off the epic Vietnam War movie Apocalypse Now. He wrote, "I love the smell of deportations in the morning. Chicago is about to find out why it's called the Department of War." The left instantly taking the bait. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson posted, "The president's threats are beneath the honor of our nation." Illinois Governor J.D. Pritzker with, "The president of the United States is threatening to go to war with an American city. This is no joke. This is not normal." Other prominent Democrats are also talking.
The president of the United States essentially just declared war on a major city in his own nation. This is not normal.
The terrible things that the President of the United States is saying about using troops in the Department of War in the city of Chicago is an embarrassment and disgusting.
I call it a threat. I call it embarrassing. I would call it performative.
And what do you call Labor Day weekend when 58 people were shot, including a drive-by that left 7 people in that one shooting wounded? What do you call that? That's also a threat to the public, or a definite threat to the public. The president yesterday getting into it with a reporter who had a question about his media post.
That's fake news. When you say that, darling, that's fake news. What? Be quiet. Listen. You don't listen. You never listen. That's why you're second rate. We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our city. We're going to clean them up so they don't kill 5 people every weekend. That's not war. That's common sense.
Who wants to live in a city where they shoot up like that on a regular basis, the citizens of the city? Power panel now. Cassie Smedley, former RNC press secretary, and Megan Hayes, former Biden director of message planning. Look, Megan, no matter how you spin this, no matter what you do, it is unsustainable for the citizens of Chicago, whether they're living in the direct areas or nearby. It affects everybody. It affects the safety of the city and their bottom line in what they spend and attract tourists, so on and so forth. What do you say about the pushback on cleaning it up the way it's been cleaned up in D.C.?
Well, unfortunately, Chicago's the 27th most dangerous city in the country. So there are 26 cities that are more dangerous to live in, which is really unfortunate for all of these Americans that are living like this. And I would say he didn't clean up crime in D.C. It's put a pause on crime in D.C. There is no way when the National Guard leaves or the federal law enforcement pull out that crime won't return to D.C.
So that's an excellent point. So what do you say to those Democrat leaders that aren't making a plan right now to have sustainability in the safety? You make a great point. Your team is in charge. So when the president pulls back with his team and we're left to Democrats to secure D.C., you're saying right now, Megan, it's going to be as bad or worse than it was before. I want to get to Cassie real quickly just to respond to that.
Well, I would note that Mayor Bowser actually signed a declaration last week saying we're going to continue to fully cooperate with the president and the National Guard because she sees the positive impact that it's having. And to your point, Harris, for those of us who spent a lot of time living in D.C., you know I'm on my 1-year anniversary of moving out of there, largely because it wasn't a safe place to raise my family. The city council is the real problem in D.C., and the mayor knows that. And so she's saying, I will take the support to try and make the city safe because I don't have a government that's willing to work with me. But you'd think that mayors in these other cities would see what's happened in D.C. and say, I'd take that. I would like to try anything to make the streets safer for my citizens, whether I'm the most dangerous city in the country or the 100th most dangerous city in the country. Who doesn't want to make it safer for their citizens? And I would just point out that President Trump has pretty marvelously goaded Democrats into defending criminals against their own citizens and constituents. And that's what voters and Americans are paying attention to every time we see Democrats say, we don't want your help. We don't want to make our streets safer.
Well, Megan Hayes is a free thinker. You can't goad her into anything. So I'm curious to know, what do you say to those Democrats now that are taking the bait?
I don't think people are necessarily taking the bait. I think people are trying to turn the focus away from the theater of these actions and the theater of the post, because that's what Donald Trump does want people to do, is take the bait and try to refocus the conversation back on the economy, because I think that's overwhelmingly, there was a poll that came out yesterday, overwhelmingly what all Americans are caring about is the cost of living, the cost of groceries, the cost of housing. And so I think that that's what Democrats should be focused on doing, is turning the conversation back to the economy. But just going back on your D.C. point, I just want to point out the federal government took $1 billion out of the D.C. government, which could have gone to community programs and getting more police on the street. And so I think if the federal government really wants to work with D.C., and I know it's a very different situation in D.C. because of home rule and they're not a state, they need to be working together on the budget piece of this. And I agree with the city council piece. So I fully admit that is very different than Chicago. But there are many more steps here in D.C. that could be taken to keep it
complicated.
safer.
I don't know how much money would need to be spent, though, to keep people from killing 58 people across the Labor Day weekend in Chicago, outside of D.C. Your quick last thought, Cassie.
Yeah, again, this is the reason that crime maybe has fallen off as the #1 issue is because, for example, the border. President Trump got into office and he secured our border again. That's why it's fallen out of one of the top 3 issues that the American people care about. Of course, the president's working on the economy. Of course, he's working on bringing down gas and grocery prices. We saw the lowest gas prices year over year since President Trump took office. So all those things are happening while Democrats continue to just say, Orange man bad.
Simultaneous stuff, the work of a president. Great to see you both. Thank you. Thank you for watching the Faulkner Focus. Outnumbered is after the break.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.